going on, everybody? Welcome back to not another Isekai. I am Tyler, and yeah, talking about the current season of anime, all that good stuff. A lot of good stuff this week. Last week dropped a bunch of shows, but that happens, right? That happens. Still have a good, what is it, like 15 shows that we're doing, so a lot of good stuff. Some of it is wrapping up real soon. I think I talked about that last week, but some of it wrapping up very soon. And we'll talk about the kind of sort of end to some of this stuff, but yeah, so we're right in the meat of it, right in the thick of it. So kind of all the shows right now are reaching that point where, like I said, there's a few shows that are the second core, so they're wrapping up, right there, they're finishing soon. But then all of our actual seasonal stuff that started this week or this season, they're right on like episode 4, episode 5. So they're really like full steam ahead on whatever they're doing. So yeah, that's why it's a lot of good stuff. So first, as always, we got My Hero Academia season 6, episode 18. So this one was kind of what they set up last episode, which was Midoriya being in his own head and sort of talking to all the other previous wielders, right? The only one he couldn't really talk to was All Might, and I'm assuming that's because All Might's still alive. All Might, I think, had like some throwaway line or something about how like he can only catch bits and pieces of their conversation. So basically this whole episode, again, not a whole lot really happened, but we kind of, first it's just cool to see all the wielders together talking, but also it was more so, I think, just to try to understand what the previous wielders were thinking in this whole situation, because the situation is crazy that Midoriya is in with like All for One, Shigaraki, just crazy stuff. And then also attached to that, what Midoriya's thinking is with everything. So we'll get to that in a second. But so there are some really cool, I guess, revelations, stuff that maybe was said before or whatever, but I don't really remember it. So it was pretty big for me. First off, All Might was quirkless, which I feel like we kind of already knew. Again, if that wasn't confirmed, I feel like that's something that I just kind of assumed. I felt like that was why he was drawn towards Midoriya so much, is because he kind of had that connection to him. Also, I feel like up until this point, I always thought that that's what One for All was that it was a really special quirk that was passed down to quirkless people. Like someone would find a quirkless kid, that they see potential in or whatever, and then pass it down to them. It really wasn't until recently, like probably last season, right? Was that when, I think it was last season when Midoriya started to display other types of powers, other quirks, right? When it was like, oh no, actually, each wielder had their own quirk, and that kind of absorbed and got pushed into the One for All, which again, kind of weird, because what's All Might's quirk? Is All Might's quirk the strength? Well, no, it's not. That quirk actually isn't the strength, because if it was, then but that is funny that we've never seen. So, can every One for All use all the previous quirks, or is Midoriya special? Because I don't think we've ever seen All Might use more than one quirk. I guess that's smart, because wasn't that their whole thing with Midoriya, which was like, hey, we're gonna train these other quirks in secret, because if you start popping up with other quirks, they're gonna, people are gonna be suspicious, right? So I guess maybe that was like All Might's train of thought too, where he was like, oh, I'm just gonna be like really strong, I can fly, I guess, whatever. That's probably what happened. So he was quirkless, so that One for All kind of became his true quirk. That's kind of just, what it was. Which is, because before him, everyone else had, or, already had a quirk, previously. So now, kind of a big thing, which again, kind of assumed, but then I feel like the more recent stuff made us flip and be like, oh no, this is how it works. So now they're like, oh no, no, this is how it works. They're flipping it on us again. But the only way to pass on One for All now is to another quirkless. And so, that was a big deal to the wielders, because they're like, hey, in your day and age, that is very rare. Like quirkless are kind of becoming endangered in a way, where like everyone has quirks now. That's like the thing. Like 99% of people on the planet have a quirk. That's why people like Midoriya, very strange. Also makes sense why he was bullied, right? Like again, not not that he deserved to be bullied, but it makes sense because it's like why doesn't this freak have a quirk? So it's like, man, you might be the last person to ever have One for All, because you might find it literally impossible to find a quirkless human to pass these on to. So that's kind of a lot of pressure, right? It also just reinforces the whole like shonen main character trope, where it's like, you're the one. And then we get further along. Midoriya does not want to kill Shigaraki; he wants to save him. So I feel like that was kind of the anchor to the episode. Because all the wielders were kind of giving their opinions. They were saying, some of them were like taking responsibility, blaming themselves. Oh, we should have done that. We should have done this. But at the end of the day, they asked Midoriya like, hey, are you willing? Are you able to kill Shigaraki to end this? And that kind of messed Midoriya up, and he eventually said, no, like, I don't, what I saw in him that day, it looked like someone that was reaching out for help. And again, that could just be Midoriya, misinterpreting Shigaraki's feelings, his unspoken, energy that he was putting out that day, that moment. But, again, it's the whole main character syndrome, right? Where like you kind of want to help everybody. So, and again, I was totally waiting for him to say that, and then the other wielders be like, "You're insane," but no, they were just kind of like, "Damn, like he's the one," like for him, like the easier option, quote unquote, would be to just kill Shigaraki. Not that it's easy to kill him, because he's really powerful, especially now with all the Nomu stuff. But it'd be very easy to be like, oh, he's a bad guy, we're gonna kill him, world will be better off. But for Midoriya to take the hard route and be like, no, I want to save him. I wanna make him understand. I want him to be who he really wants to be. He doesn't want to be a villain. Come on, we know he doesn't want to be a villain. Yeah. And then let's see. And then we finally get the whole press conference thing that was inevitable. Endeavor doesn't have all the answers, which hurts the public. My whole thing with this is, I don't know what they expected. And I feel like the one reporter kind of understood that she was being irrational, because they were basically, they didn't really say this, but what they said was, what do you expect us to do? And then the reporter kind of went off and was like, you're heroes, you're supposed to take care of all the villains, you're supposed to take them out, you're supposed to protect us, and all that stuff. And she kind of faltered, because I interpreted that as her realizing she was being irrational, where it's like, we tried that. Like, do you really think we went out there that day and we just gave it like, I don't know, like 60%? We're just like, we're fine, whatever. Like, no, like do you know how many heroes are in the hospital right now with pretty severe injuries? Like, I was like, me, Endeavor, I was fighting for my life. Like, and you're all gonna sit there, and then you guys are gonna say that, and then you guys are gonna go out and get these like weapons, these little enhancements or whatever, and now you're like, oh, forget heroes. It's like, well, which one is it? Do you want our help? Do you not want our help? You know what I mean? It's just like, again, it's very hypocritical. I mean, we've kind of, I think like we talked about this before, but I don't necessarily blame non-heroes, especially people without quirks, because it's like, that's all they've known. That's all they've known is heroes helping them, saving them, protecting them. And so when they can't do it, it's like, well, what's going on? Or why? What you guys failed, right? I don't know, I just don't think that's fair because we know, like, we were there and we saw how much they were fighting, how much they were literally willing to put their lives on the line. How many people died? Like the thing too, where I don't know if that's really come out, if that's public knowledge. How many people died? How many heroes died trying to stop them? You know, um, and again, they were upset because they were like, oh, how do you expect us to, evacuate without a plan? And like at that point, like they would never say it, but I would just want the heroes to be like, listen, if you want our help, follow what we're saying. If you don't want our help, then fine, do whatever you want and die. Like what do you like? You can't in one breath say that we're supposed to be the ones that taking care of this, and then we say, okay, here's the plan, and you say, I don't like that plan. It's just like, what do you want? What do you want to just snap our fingers and every villain on Earth to die, to take their last breath? It's like, man, can't do that. Also, heroes aren't really supposed to be about killing, so it's very delicate. And again, I get it. The public, they're very scared, right? Very scared. But it's just like, for you to think that the heroes aren't doing everything they can be doing is just like, I don't know, like sit down somewhere, And then the end, which is kind of cool. I kind of liked this. I don't know where they're gonna go with it. I don't know if they're gonna actually make it compelling. But Midoriya wrote letters to everyone, sort of explaining his powers. I don't think he went like super in depth, but he did, say that, oh, these were powers given to me by All Might. And then he bid them farewell. We have what's the what's the pink girl's name? The one who can like float gravity. I don't know her name. She was kind of doing some voiceover, and she said like that, next semester or whatever, Midoriya left. He wasn't there anymore for our next semester at UA. And then we cut to Midoriya kind of standing on top of a building with rubble or whatever. He puts on his mask, and then he says something like big villain or something like that. I don't know, but again, it was cool. The whole just like scenery, like him being like, ooh, he's kind of on his own. What is he doing? Some like kind of remind me like Batman, right? But yeah, that's My Hero getting very dark for this season. I would say the whole first half of the season again, with them kind of going off, the villains going crazy, killing a bunch of people. They're like big plan, and then even now with like the recovery period, like recovery. I say that, but then there was like 7 prisons that got jailbroke, and many heroes are very, very hurt. Although I do like the little montage with a lot of the heroes kind of like wrapping up their arms and them being bandaged, but like you can see it in their eyes, like they're ready. Like, we are not gonna just sit here and do nothing. So yeah, again, it was a good episode. Again, I like the whole wielder stuff, so we get a little more of an idea as to what Midoriya is thinking. And then the end with the heroes are still kind of walking on eggshells, it feels like. But, I feel like the heroes are kind of brewing something up. Again, we're nearing the end. I say there's about 7 episodes left. So still a lot of time to tell the story, but I'm very interested to see what their plan is. Because, I don't think the season will end without one big like confrontation, right? But yeah. Next, we got some Blue Lock, episode 17. This was, in the beginning, a very frustrating episode to watch, but I like how it evolved and the way that Isekai was like, all right, this is you want to play that way? All right, we can play that way. And the match does not conclude in this episode, so next episode is going to be crazy. So, the very beginning, like I said, very frustrating. Baru still refuses to pass the ball. He says that he would rather die than change his core principles, which is like, I don't know, like, so here's the thing. Technically, they're on the same level, right? Baru, Isekai, they're in the same team in the same place. They both lost their one match. They had to crawl back up. Now they're on a 3v3 again. So in that sense, with like wins and losses, they're essentially on the same playing field, right? So, I don't think Isagi can really talk down to Baru or vice versa. But I think the issue is, especially what the issue we're having with Baru is like, your way hasn't worked up until this point. Like, your way worked on a team because because you had 10 other people around you that could do stuff, whether you wanted it or not. You had other people that could back you up. When you're on a team this small, only 3 people, it's like, if you're not passing, I mean, the issue isn't only passing. Like, first of all, yes, you should be passing. There's 3 people. Like that's the whole thing. We learned this in Aoashi, which is another amazing sports soccer anime, which is like a triangle is like the perfect formation for running up the field, right? If you have a really strong triangle of people, unstoppable, right? So that's essentially what it is. It's triangle versus triangle. It's 3v3. But like, if you're not passing, then we never have to mark the other 2 people, because we know if you get the ball, we're just going to double team you, triple team you even, and that's what they've been doing up until this point, which is like, oh, he's not going to pass. All right, we're going to have Reo and Kunigami on him. And every single time we've slipped the ball out from under his feet, just like, oh, I lost it again. It's like, yes, yes, because you don't pass. So everyone knows exactly what you're going to do. Like, as strong of a scorer as he can be, he's a very one-trick pony. So again, if you get the ball, we're just going to double team you, and we know that you're going for a certain zone. We know, like, you don't really have many tricks, as a one-trick pony has. So it's just so frustrating, especially with that conversation where it's like, you're just waiting for that anime moment to happen where the main character finally gets it through to the, to this stubborn other character. And Bar was like, fine, we'll, for one time, we'll do it your way. Like some sense gets knocked into him, but he just refuses. He's a brick wall. Again, like, he would rather die than change his core principles. It's just like, you don't, like, your way, not only up to this point, right? Because like I said, technically they're on the same level, so you can't say that Isagi's just been taking dubs and Bar's been taking L's, because it's not true. Because if that was true, they wouldn't be on the same team. Isagi would be way past him. He would already be out of this selection, right? So the second selection. But if we're just looking at this match, it's like, first of all, I beat you on a 2v2. You know what I mean? So okay, you can blame the other dude, Naru, right? You can blame him, sure, whatever. Even though you lost to me, sure, let's for a second, let's just blame him. But we're on the same team now, and as you can see, as however long this match has been going, you haven't scored once. You haven't scored once. Every time you get the ball, it gets stolen from you. It's like, there's literally nothing we can do. If you have the ball, there's nothing we can do to drag the double team away from you, because you don't pass. That's the whole reason why a defender is wary about the people around him, because he's like, oh, at any point, this man could pass to someone else. I should try to intercept it or block his vision. But no one has to do that with you, because you don't pass the ball. So as soon as you get it, they're just going to get double teamed and you're going to get the ball stolen because you're not that nice. I mean, even Bakura, who's a master dribbler, isn't going to always win a double team. He could probably sometimes, but so yeah, very, very frustrating start to the episode. And then on top of that, we look at the other team, Reo, Kunigami, and Shigiri, and it's like they, what is the one play? Nisigi calls it a perfectly balanced trifusion, which is like they know each other's weapons so well and they all mesh so well together. It's like, if we keep playing like this, we're not going to win. So it's essentially a 3v2, a 3v2.5 right now. We can't win that. And then Isagi finally has a revelation. He's like, I have to devour Baru's play, which is so cool. And then it like hit like the like halfway point, the commercial break in the episode. It's so cool because it's the perfect plan, right? So what he means by that and what he essentially does is that he's not going to cause he's not going to force Baru to change his style of play. He's like, all right, Baru, that's how you want to play that way, go ahead, play that way. I'm going to play around you, and so that's what he does. Izagi passes it to Nagi, then everyone's focusing on Nagi, right? So first off, he used Baru to pass to Nagi, right? He ran towards Baru. Baru was always doing his thing, so everyone's like, oh, clearly this is the link. Pass it to Nagi, right? Gets that through. They see that. Everyone's focused on Nagi. Kunigami is still marking Baru because Baru's close to him, so he's like, just in case, right? That leaves Isagi free and wide open. He can do whatever he wants. And he scores, right? And that, first of all, gets to their team because they're like, man, this whole thing, Isagi concocted this whole play right here so he can score. Crazy. And secondly, that really got Baru because everyone on the field, including him, realized what just happened. Baru was used as a decoy. Baru didn't like that. He didn't like that. Not only did he not like that, he didn't like that his role of a decoy in that play caused their team to score. Because now it's like, well, if they can do that, then they don't need me. I'm never going to score again. And then Isagi, ramps it up a notch. He tells him to not get in his way anymore. Don't get in our way. We're going to win this without you. Calls him a donkey. And that just breaks Baru. Like, he's very upset. You think he would see sense. He doesn't. We keep ramping up. Isagi is basically counting on Baru to play the way Baru does because it's predictable. So, Baru gets mad. He tries to steal the ball from Kunigami. He gets the ball, gets it stolen. But Isagi is right there to pick up the loose ball. And so it's like Isagi is really, Baru is really seeing that his play, like his teammates are not counting on him to score anymore. They're counting on him to mess up. Like Isagi and Nagi want Baru to mess up. They're literally using him. They're the opposite of what Baru has done to everyone else, which is use everyone, pass to me, you're the decoy, I'm going to score, because again, you couldn't really do that on a regular 11 on 11 because there's way too many players. Like, even if we know, because we all kind of knew that Baru was the king, right? But you didn't really know too much then either because, again, that was the first selection, so you didn't really face Baru all that much. But, like, you still couldn't like double team, triple team Baru every play because it's like, well, there's other players. Like, what if he does pass? Like if he does pass, we're screwed because they're gonna have an open shot. But now it's like it's so clever. Like, okay, Baru, play the way you play. We're gonna use that to our advantage. You're never gonna touch the ball, and if you do touch the ball, you're gonna get it stolen, and then we're gonna be there to pick up your mess. And at the very end, Chigiri has a new top speed dribble, right? He learned because this whole thing was he's really fast, but when he gets the ball, he slows down because, he has the ball, right? So he found a way to dribble the ball while keeping at his top speed. He scored. It's now 4-3. It's not looking good. It's not looking great. It is looking very competitive. It's a very good match so far, but you don't want to be. You always want to be the first team to reach 4. Because, if you score 5, you win. So now it's not looking great. Again, my predictions are Isagi's teams are going to win. Like, I can't imagine they don't win because, I don't think that Isagi is going to be carried to the end of the selection. Because, again, if they win or lose, if Reo, Kunigami, and Shiguri's team wins, are they going to pick Isagi? I don't know. I mean, I feel like after seeing what's happening now, with how crazy Isagi's going, it might be a lot closer. They might be like, oh shoot, like we would definitely could take Nagi, but Isagi's kind of cracked, like a little bit, we're definitely not taking Baru. Baru sucks. Also in this match, he hasn't scored once. He's got the ball stolen a few times. It's like, no, he's washed. But again, even if they do take EC, I don't think that EC is going to be carried through this story, through the next, 7, 8 episodes, He's not going to lose, but still reach the next selection just because he got picked, he's definitely going to win. Yeah, so. But we'll see though, again, this is the perfect opportunity again for us to have a main character anime moment where the main character does break through the stubborn character and maybe Baru does change his ways a little bit. Again, I'm not expecting him to do a complete 180, but, I would like to him be just a little more open to passing the ball and like sensing danger and like understanding your own abilities. He's a really good player, but only when he's put in certain situations. That's not going to happen every time. So I feel like he just has to be more self-aware of like, oh, this is like what I would normally do right now in this instance is not going to work. I need to pass it. I feel like he's going to, I feel like we're going to get some backstory to Baru maybe, even if it's just like a few minutes where like Baru's the way he is because on a team he was always the best. And so everyone always relied on him to score. So he kind of had to become the king, right? He didn't really necessarily want to be the king, but he was always kind of thrust in that position. So now, he's always just in that, he's used to that position of everyone relying on him and being the support for him. Again, maybe they'll do something like that to kind of, ground him a little bit and not just make him, this dude that thinks he's better than everyone when clearly he's not. So we'll see. Next, we got the Eminence in Shadow, episode 18, the oddest course for an anime to ever go. I'm telling you, man, like this is the anime. I'm somewhat glad it's over soon. We only have 2 episodes left, because I'm kind of over it. It's just like, what I've realized is, especially looking online of other people's like discussion of the episodes or whatever, it is supposed to be sort of like, making fun of some different like isekai tropes or like, even just some anime tropes, right? So you're not really supposed to take this show like super seriously, like you would take maybe a Blue Lock, like we just talked about, right? But still, it's just like the moments are so weird. Like maybe I haven't watched enough of these kinds of anime that it is kind of poking fun of to appreciate the humor or the parody or whatever. But it's like there are just some moments where it's like, okay, like the very beginning where Claire, who's Sid's sister, haven't seen her in a while, she's just choking Sid in his bed, and told him that she's gonna be the champion. It was a very drawn out scene. It was like 5 minutes. I'm like, why is this happening? Why, like, what's the point? Like, why are you inflicting harm on your sibling? Why are you so aggressive, and then we have kind of another weird moment where Sid and Beatrix, they meet again and they exchange burgers. Again, kind of a weird dialogue back and forth where Beatrix will say something and Sid will just repeat it. Very odd. I don't know. Again, I feel like that was maybe making fun of something, but it's just like, again, because like, sometimes anime does that, right? Where something happens and then someone will just say exactly what happened in other words, and it's like, okay, we get it. We were there. We were watching. But again, it was just like a weird back and forth, like just like the words used. Like, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, you haven't seen any elves? No, I haven't seen any elves. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Were you ignoring me? No, I wasn't ignoring you. Or something like that. Again, like it was just like very purposefully just like call and response rather than, oh, I don't know, how normal people would talk and be like, hey, no, I wasn't following you. Why do you keep asking me? What's going on? Very weird. And then the match we've all been waiting for, not really. Sid beat Rose, as we expected, right? Sid is the all-powerful. He'll never lose. Cool, beat her, right? Was that the championship? I don't think it was, right? That wasn't the championship. That was just like the first round of like the main tournament. you know, because up until now it's just been like mostly qualifiers, right? Like we're trying to shave down the number of combatants to a certain number, and then it's like, okay, now all the matches from here on out are the real ones, the ones to watch. At the very end, Rose has a burger wrapper. I'm assuming that is from when Sid gave her a burger on the last day that she was seen with anyone, like at that, you know, at the fountain thing. Again, I don't really know what that means. I feel like there have been many times since then where Rose has been wanting to see Sid, or kind of been thinking about him and being like, you know, Sid would be the only one that would understand. You know, he'd be the only one that would have my back, or whatever. So maybe that's a sign. That's a very, ham-fisted foreshadowing of like him and she's gonna find Sid next episode. They're gonna talk. So yeah, that's the episode. Again, I'm kind of over it. I feel like it's very clear if you guys have been watching any of these the past 8 weeks, because again, I feel like the show peaked in the first 10 episodes, and the latter half 10 episodes have been just kind of weird. Kind of like, okay, I feel like if you just ended the anime at episode 10, I'd be good. But again, if this truly is supposed to be more of like a parody type anime, then maybe I'm just not cultured enough, to like understand and appreciate the references and all that. But again, a couple episodes left. I'd be interested to see how it ends. I don't know. I'm assuming there's more manga and stuff to this, so this might be not like the end of the story in general. Will Sid finally come out as the Eminence in Shadow? Maybe. 2 episodes left. I don't really know what else there is. I'm assuming we'll finish this little tournament, and that'll be the end. Maybe like the end of the tournament is when it'll be like Eminence in Shadow. But we'll see. Next we have The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, episode 5. Yeah, this is a pretty cute episode. So we have the return of the mom and the introduction of the dad. Mom and the dad are coming over to visit soon. We have that little scene beforehand, though, where he kind of sees that and he wants to tell her. She falls asleep next to him. And again, it's just that level of trust, that just like weird type of relationship that they have, where it's like they're not together, but like they kind of are. Puts her in the bed. Only real decision that he can make. Wakes up and she's kind of embarrassed. Whatever, right? In like this very weird situation. But that's basically what this whole show is like them being really nice to each other and them acting like a couple, but then getting embarrassed because they're not a couple, and whatever, right? Then the parents come over. They're both like teasing him about it. Again, it's kind of what everyone is doing. Everyone that knows, they keep teasing him, and he's just like, no, it's not it. No comment. Stop it. Then they dress, which is really weird too, because she comes and she's like, the mom is just like, oh man, I've always wanted to take my daughter to the festival or the fireworks or whatever it was. I don't remember. It's just like, man, Myro's not your daughter. They're not even together. But they dress up, got the kimono. Amane's got the nice little suit thing. Both look really nice. We have a nice moment there where he's like, you look good. She blushes. She whispers to him, you look good too. So again, it's like, listen, boys, we all know where the show is going. I'm just to see when it actually gets there. When they actually say, all right, I want to be with you. Because we're 5 episodes in, 12 episodes probably. Again, a lot of little situations that can happen. We already passed Christmas. So that's that's not like a prime holiday for romance. But we'll see. Even like the next scene, we have him like patting her head, just like out of nowhere. She enjoys it, right? And then she calls him an idiot. You dummy. And then because again, it's just like a weird scene where it's like, that's, for one, it's a very anime thing, the whole like head pat stuff. But then even then, it's like, why are you doing that? Are you comfortable? Oh, you're the only one that I really do this to. It's just like, come on. What are we even talking about at this point? We all know what's happening here. Um, and then apparently people at school saw them, like some people at school saw them holding hands or something. I don't think they saw that it was Amine. I mean, because if it was, I feel like they'd be like rushing him, being like, "What are you with? What's going on?" Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, because they were talking. It was like, oh yeah, I think it was someone from like another school. So yeah, I don't think they saw him, but they definitely saw clearly it was the angel holding hands with some dude. So yeah, so kind of the rumors are circulating, and that that's a bad thing. Um, they kind of talk like, oh, we should have him die down, blah blah blah, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, whatever, because we're not together, so don't want to cause any, just some unnecessary trouble for either of us, right? Some unnecessary headaches. Um, and then Mahiru gives Amane a bunch of compliments, gets very embarrassed about it afterwards. Um, but because Amane's like, well, I don't really think you'd be with someone like me anyway, so we should keep it low key, all that stuff. And she goes off, right? She like defends him from himself. Says, oh, you're a very decent person, you're thoughtful, whatever, right? I forget exactly what she said, but and then she immediately gets very embarrassed that she just said all those things. Because again, we know where the show is going. It's very clear, but we're kind of in that like eternal back and forth where it's like they keep doing nice things for each other, very like couple things with each other, but they just refuse. I don't know. They just refuse to just like understand and like accept what their feelings, I guess, because like, do you think it's one of those situations where they don't know if the other person would really like them? Because that is a lot of romance anime, right? Where it's like, oh, I really like him, I really like her, but they probably don't like me back. Do you think that's what's happening here? Do we truly think that Amane doesn't think that Mahiru likes him back? What about vice versa? I mean, I definitely think that Amane is more down on himself about the situation. Just kind of their roles, where it is like, oh, the angel, she's an angel, and I'm just a dude. That is kind of like the on the outside what their roles are. I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, again, good episode. Like I said, this is one of those shows where I just enjoy every episode. It's always good to see what situations they put each other in, and how they continue to refuse to be a couple. But yeah, again, prediction for next episode, I don't really know. It's hard to predict an episode like this, like just like a slice of life show. Yeah, I don't know. Next, we got the Ice Guy and his cool female colleague, episode 5. Yeah, again, very similar. I like that I do these shows back to back, because Angel Next Door and Ice Guy, two very similar like atmospheres, I'll say. So we have Himuro buying certain items to earn points, right? Classic, reward points type thing. You cash them in for a prize. He's trying to earn the George the Kitten plate set, and he's very clearly trying to earn it for Fuyutsuki. Because again, I'm not saying he doesn't like George the Kitten, but it's definitely her thing. But we do have a nice little like two-way storytelling here, because we have Himuro and Fuyutsuki doing something, but then at the same time, the episode kind of focuses more on Saejima and Komori. They're doing a very similar thing. So on their end, we're building up their kind of relationship with each other a little bit. Again, they're not together, but the more I look at it, especially this episode, it's like I could definitely see them together. So we have Saejima thinks that Komori's ears and tail are cute. He's like, oh man, why do you always hide them? Why don't you leave them out more often? And she gives a very like tongue-in-cheek answer. The very classic answer of like, oh, I'm gonna give you a non-answer because I want to see what you say to it. He's just like, no, I think they're cute. You should keep them out, you know. And then we're going back to the main thing. Fuyutsuki's morning routine is very different than Komari's. So we have Fuyutsuki, very planned, very delicate, very just like everything has its place, right? And then we have Komari waking up late, makeup's not going the way she wants, her clothes aren't dry. She's on the train and she's like squished with all the people coming in, not late, but she's exhausted. And it's just like, it's fun to see the whole dichotomy, them kind of showing off again, just kind of giving each character their own personality, which I think is very important, especially in these more like slice of life type shows, where, something with like, I don't know, more of like, well, I guess personalities are important in every type of anime for the most part, but I would say they're super important in a slice of life, because in slice of life, all we have is the characters. Again, there's some romance in here, obviously. There's some comedic moments here and there, but in its essence, I would say this is more of like a slice of life, a very close second being romance. And so, we need to care about these characters very deeply. And we also need to like recognize them when they're on screen. I'd be like, oh yeah, who's that again? Because if that's the case, then that means that the writing isn't doing a good enough job of making us, making these characters stick in our minds. If it's not Himuro or Fuyutsuki, I don't care. It's like, if that was the case, one, it'd either be a very different anime, or two, it'd be a bad anime. So yeah, making them stick, I like that. Sajima was helping Komori finish the set very clearly, right? Every day be a new one. It was funny that Komori didn't know this. It's like, them talking about it, and then like, who else would it be? Fuyutsuki, no, she's got her own thing. Himuro, I don't think you'd really do that. Clearly this guy. And then he said, she was like, well, why were you helping me? She's like, oh, it's out of love. And then she starts blushing. It's like, ... for foxes. Out of love for foxes. And that is kind of one of Sajima's like character tics, which he will say something and then wait a beat and then like finish a sentence. That was kind of how he said with like thinking that the like, ears and tails are cute. It's kind of what he did with that too. It's just like his weird like speech thing that's attached to his character. And again, very clearly he likes her, and I think she does kind of like him back. I think it's more on Sajima's side right now, but it's just, again, a very nice little cute thing that they did together. Hopefully we get to see more of them together doing activities. And also on top of that, the whole fox thing is great because one, he was like, oh, I'm doing it because of the new set or whatever, but it's like, oh, there actually is a new set with a fox. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's do this together too. Now we can do it more in the open. But yeah. And then Fuyutsuki gave Himuro her points, and then he gave her one of the plates, right? So, because Himuro was like stressing, he was freaking out because he was like, oh no, I did the calculations wrong. With this trajectory, I'm not gonna earn enough points to earn the plates. And then, so he's freaking out because again, he's very clearly doing it for Fuyutsuki. He wants to give these to Fuyutsuki as like a nice gesture, all that stuff, right? And so it's very cool when Fuyutsuki sees like over his shoulder, oh, he's collecting points. I'm collecting points too. Let's give him the points. So he collect the points, and then he gives her one of the plates. So now they have kind of matching plates. Very nice, very nice. Again, just another moments that they were able to brew up between these two adults that clearly love each other. Again, they're not really together per se, but and the very end, we have something a little weird. I really do hope they go more into this because I feel like these are two characters that we know the least about, or that we care the least about. We have Katori tells Otanashi that he loves her every day, right? So we have a nice little backstory here where they've known each other for a while, and it's like, oh well, if you tell her every day, that kind of loses the meaning, and also we have some more stuff where it's like, oh no, Otanashi's a very strong person, but she can still get emotional, and you know, like she does have his back, like they're there for each other. So, you know, it is that kind of relationship. So, you know, we'll see exactly where that goes. You know, um, I wouldn't say she's like a tsundere, but like sort of like almost on that path, kind of. And then he's more of just like confessing love every day, and it's just like, all right, dog, you know, this doesn't mean anything at this point. So, you know, but yeah, again, you know, I didn't really care about the last part of the episode because of those two characters, but again, because we don't really know them that well. Like we've seen Katari like once before this, really, and then we have you know, we have Otanashi, which I didn't even recognize her character. I was like, is this the first time we're seeing her? You know, so I do hope maybe next episode or so, you know, we do see more of them together. You know, kind of maybe in the group, you know, because I feel like Himuro, Fuyutsuki, Saejima, and Komori are very clearly like a group. And then we have these other two characters that are, you know, we don't know them too well. So I like to see more of them and like care about their, you know, version of romance, you know. But yeah, awesome stuff. Love the show again. Again, it's another like kind of slice of lifey, romancy show that's just fun to watch. Next, we have the magical revolution of the reincarnated princess and the genius young lady, episode 5. Yeah, good episode. No, but you know, we have some action this episode, which is fun to see. You know, especially after the introduction of Annis. You know, with her being like, oh, she's the Phantom Warrior or whatever. What was she called in the first episode? She was called something like that. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. So we do some action here. So Annis drops in and kills some monsters. That comes out of nowhere. Right? He's like, oh, Annis is here. The Phantom. I'm just calling her the Phantom Warrior. I don't remember what she was called, but Phantom Warrior sounds cool. It's like, oh, thank God she's here. She's gonna help us out. She's incredible. So we're fighting, doing stuff. Annis gets knocked out of the sky, and Yuffie dove and caught her. So that was a big moment because, you know, we've never really seen Annis fail with fighting. Again, we haven't seen her too much, but we do kind of know her reputation, right? And I was like, oh, you know, like other people, groups that are fighting, or a village or whatever. So again, like we're really basing this on the first episode, but like, you know, they were super happy that she was there to help, you know. And then even last episode with the, you know, Yuffie, you know, being told that, oh, this is what this is, you know, she was surprised. She's like, oh, how are you a gold rank adventurer? So again, like there is evidence to show us that Annis is pretty talented, pretty skilled. She can hold her own. So then for this to again, no shame. It was a dragon. But like, you know, for her to get knocked out of the sky, it's like danger. Oh no. And then for Yuffie to go all out on her end, you know, go crazy, dive, catch her, and just, them kind of have this back and forth where Yuffie is she does worry, right? She is worried about Annis' safety, her health and safety, like you can't be jumping into danger like this, but they do have a thing where it's like, no, but we have to do this, we can do this together. It's like, oh, it's such a good moment because they clearly want to spend time with each other. They want to go through this, maybe even life together, right? And so for them to worry about each other makes complete sense, but it's like, this is what I do. Again, not really in the sense of like get used to it or get to step in. It's not really like that, but it is like, why don't we do this together? Like we both want to, and it's true. Doing the whole research, Yuffie being the way she is, I think it's because it's just how she grew up. And it's the same way, right? Where it's like Yuffie grew up being this very delicate, road to being royalty, right? The queen, whatever. And then Annis kind of doing the opposite and being like, I don't want that. I just want to go out and adventure, do my studies, magicology, all that stuff. So, it takes a little more to get Yuffie on the side, but Yuffie also trusts Annis and wants to help her any way she can. And, it's a little bit exciting on her end too, because she's never really done anything like this before. So, again, a nice dynamic between the two characters. They're going to kill the dragon together. I already said that. Yeah, so they're like, all right, divided, apes apes together strong, right? So now there's 2 of them. Crazy. They're able to cut off its wing, dragon falling to the earth. It's like, ooh, yes. Ooh, we got you. You're not missing a wing, my friend. You know how hard it is to fly without one wing? I would say difficult. I don't know from first-hand experience, but I would say pretty difficult. I would say the equivalent of walking with one leg. Maybe doable, probably almost impossible. I guess at that point you're not really walking, right? You're just kind of hopping. It's probably way more difficult to fly without one wing. Now. I imagine you need both wings to fly. And then they're in this very precarious predicament because the dragon's not dead or anything. The dragon's obviously very mad, gonna go off on some crazy attacks, whatever. And Anis is like, hey, because Yuffie like talks about maybe dodging it and then going around, fighting this thing, whatever. And then Anis is like, no, we can't just dodge their next attack. If we do, this whole area will be destroyed, and there's innocent civilians here. We can't. If there's something we can do, we have to try it. And so they do. We have a great moment where Anis is like, the impossible was made to be possible, or something to that effect. Because they're like cutting through this like crazy wave of energy, cutting through like the dragon's life force, basically. Just great with them together doing it, them putting their powers combined. It's incredible. And they destroy the dragon. They kill the dragon. The dragon curses Anis with like, I forget exactly what he said, but it was something like, he was basically cursing her with all of his knowledge and memories and like life, basically. Again, I don't really know exactly what that means. I wonder if that will actually come back at some point in the show, or if it is just like a cool moment that we just kind of forget about, or if there is legitimately like a curse on her, and like that's gonna be maybe the driving force between some of the like more serious, more like imminent kind of story beats, rather than them just kind of like having fun, prancing around the castle doing their magicology stuff, right? More like more of a dire situation type thing. And then they're inseparable, right? That's kind of how we get at the end. They're inseparable. They're going to be together forever. I want you to keep me along this journey. And then she's like, I want you to allow me to keep you on this journey. Something kind of corny like that, but it's cool, man. It's cool because it just reinforces that they're in this together, and we're definitely going to see more of them. They kind of understand, what their relationship is and what they're going to be doing. So excited for next episode. We'll see if the dragon thing kind of comes around at all. I'm sure we'll see some aftermath of, was it Algard, the brother, not getting a piece of any of this. The king, the father, probably being upset with Anis. Maybe even upset with Yuffie. I don't know. And then also maybe reaping the rewards of their journey, of this whole magicite stuff. What new invention does that bring? What new advancement is Xana's going to develop with it? So yeah. Next we have possibly my favorite episode of the season. Very close, very, very close. I would say if it's not number 1, it's got to be number 2. We have Buddy Daddies. Buddy Daddies episode 5. I just love the show. It's just a good time. The characters are really strong. This like 3 character prong that we have. So opens up and they're going broke because they're not really taking any jobs for the most part. And also we have Miri now. So now Miri is like a whole other expense, right? We have Kazuki and Rei are straining themselves to work on new missions, right? So now they're accepting new missions from Q, but it's like, it's tough because it's very strenuous on them physically and mentally because they also have to take care of Miri, right? Kind of focus on that. We can only do it at certain times of the day, certain times at night. We're trying to get enough in so that we can financially support all of us. So it's tough. It's tough. Even with daycare, it's like we still have responsibilities. So, it's putting a little bit of a strain on the family, you know, not enough to be like in danger. Like that's not the type of anime this is, but enough for like them to worry about each other, and get like a little on edge. So we have Kazuki leaving, and Miri follows Kazuki. Okay, Kazuki's working on like a mission or whatever, right? But a dog makes her lose focus. So classic like little kid thing where it's like, ooh, a dog, you know. Um, so and now she's lost. The worst possible thing that could happen. Miri runs into that scary guy, which we've seen before, like episode 1 or episode 2, I think. We saw that like scary guy, which I feel like has to come back at some point. Like he is somebody, right? Because we saw him coming in after Kazuki and Rei the one time, also like accepting a mission or something, or be like, oh, I'm in town, right? And now we see him here, Miri bumping into him, being very stoic, all that stuff. And then we later on see Kazuki and Rei, who finally find Miri, but they're with Q at the cafe. And so that's a whole new level of danger because we can't have Q knowing that they have like a kid. I mean, definitely not that we have a kid, and also this is the kid that was the daughter of the dad that we killed on the mission. Can't have that, right? That'll cause so many problems. Then Q offers to watch Miri while they finish the jobs. Yeah, because he's like, clearly you guys are behind. Let me watch the kid while you finish up, the little missions that I have for you. That way, that doesn't interfere with your work. You're happy, I'm happy, all that stuff, right? Again, it was kind of funny to me because, Kazuki was just like over worrying, where he's like, oh no, Miri being with Q, that's not a good thing. And then him even going like crazy routes of like Q and Miri getting married. Just like she's like 4. what are you talking about? And also like the weird scenario where Miri would like Q more than you and Rei. Like I just don't see that ever happening. But it is nice to see him worrying, right? Because it is like, oh man, that is how a real parent would worry. Q made her a drink, which is the best thing she's ever drank. It was awesome. Again, just like one of those cute moments, right? Where it's just like, oh my god, it's incredible. And again, it is nice to see another side of Q, right? Because up until this point, mainly because of Kazuki, has painted Q as this very hard, very, just like all business, somewhat cruel maybe, character. And then we see him with Miri, and he's like just like a normal, cool, laid back dude, right? He made up a lie that Kazuki is a stand-up comedian, a terrible one, and that Rei is a Middle Eastern oil baron. I don't know, just to mess with them, I guess, because he knows that Miri will go back and like talk to them about it. I just think that's funny. Miri tells Q that she loves them very much, which is nice. Again, it is something, we'll see this a little later in just a moment actually, but one, it just kind of goes to show how much Miri really does love them, right? Like she really has accepted them as her dads. On top of that, for now Q to know that, and Q to be like, again, we already know that Q figured out what's going on very quickly, but aside from that, for him to know that, at least to Miri, this is real, right? Like she, because he even asked some questions like, oh, wouldn't you rather, wouldn't you want to go home? Are you, something about like hanging out with strangers rather than your family, whatever, right? Like, a couple leading questions like that. And she's like, no, I'm good, whatever, And then, that's when she says like, oh, I love them so much. And like, she makes like a big circle motion with her arms, which is very like kid thing to do. I love them this much, but just nice because again, that again, it shows Q that this is real, right? Because then after that, well, I guess first we go to Miri's presentation, which was very nice. Talks about how much they like the food, playing video games. Actually tells, she mentions that Kazuki's a stand-up comedian and that Rei's an oil baron, which is kind of strings along this bit with all the little daycare moms. Because at first, he showed up in like the very nice clothing, and they're like, "Oh man, they're, are they rich?" Blah blah blah. They're like, "Ooh, we're like single moms trying to," and then, now we have this thing like an oil baron. Oh man, are they rich? So again, it's a very like dumb bit that they do, but I like it. But yeah, and then we go back to what I wanted to talk about, which is the whole Q thing, and they say, hey, if Miri endangers the jobs, action will be taken. They're not gonna kill the kid or anything crazy like that, but it's like you have a job, like I give you jobs and you have to do them, to a certain level, and so if Miri is stopping you from doing that, she's not your kid. You know what I mean? But that's kind of like the whole bad cop. The good cop in him is like, he sees how much Miri loves them. He can clearly see how much they care for Miri. It's like, maybe she can change you for the better. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe you guys are what's best for each other. But again, good cop, bad cop, and now just like real cop. This is a dangerous job. I don't need to tell you guys that. She will be in danger. Are you prepared to put her in danger? Are you prepared for what that could be? And I think maybe kind of insinuating that something bad could happen to her, right? And it is very serious, right? But it's just like, that's real, I love that ending because one, now they don't have to hide it from Q anymore, but two, I think it does spell out a lot of what Kazuki has already kind of hinted at, and I think us as viewers can just kind of interpret. Where it's just like, we've seen a lot of like cutesy, like fun, like whatever stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in this show we see something serious. I don't know about like someone kidnapping Miri. I don't know if the show will ever get there. But maybe something a little more serious, and it's like, ooh, we're actually making us feel something right now. So we'll see. Next, we got Vinland Saga episode 4, season 2. Yeah, great show. This is incredible. Again, probably definitely one of my favorite shows this season. So we have Thorfinn saw something in Snake. He saw like a flash of Askeladd. Remember Askeladd from season 1? He's a dude who kind of destroyed his whole way of life. And then Thorfinn's whole motivation for the season was to get strong enough to duel Askeladd and kill him. But again, it's funny because up to this point, Thorfinn is very, very muted, very just like whatever, nothing matters. Again, he was getting sliced up, wasn't even blinking. And then Snake makes a move, and it reminds him of Askeladd, and then Thorfinn jumps into action, right? He like jumps up, does like a backflip, kicks the dude, whatever. And it's cool because again, Snake knew that something was going to happen. Snake was watching him the whole time and was like, interesting, when he was getting sliced up. And then he did that move on purpose. So it's like, I wonder if we'll see more of that, more of like Snake's interaction with Thorfinn, because I like that. But also just to see the flash of Askeladd was very nostalgic. And also, outwardly, Snake's purpose in doing that was like, see, you want to live. Your body wants to live, because if it didn't, then why did you just fight back, right? If not, you would just let me kill you just now. So there's that. And that's the Thorfinn that we all want to see, right? Like we want, because we know Thorfinn was a monster, right? Like he was taking down armies single-handedly. This dude was insane. And for him up to this point to be very muted and just like, oh, whatever, I'm a slave, I'm just gonna do what they say, whatever, I'll take whatever they give me, it's just like, this isn't you. Again, I don't want him to be Einar, because to me that was very much like kid Thorfinn, which was very loud and outspoken and like whining about everything. And I was like, all right, dog, like you're not good enough to be complaining about everything. So I don't want him to be like Einar, but I don't know, because I don't really know where the show's going. Like are they gonna escape? Is someone gonna die? Like I really don't know. Um, Pater, Pater, gave Thorfinn medicine and a shirt, which is very nice, right? Kind of keeping him up to snuff. Um, so that was cool, right? He's getting bandaged up, got a new shirt, all that stuff. So, Thorfinn's being looked after. Arnheid apparently ran around the farm to alert someone as to what happened to them, which, like, very anime moment with Einar being like, oh, she's an angel, but also, again, turns, goes to show maybe, a little bit of characterization to Arnheid. Maybe, like, she's a nice person. But again, I think we'll see more of her at some point. Again, she is a slave too, but she doesn't do the same work that Einar and Thorfinn do. So, it'd be nice at some point they meet up and we get to see more of her and maybe some of her story or something. Thorfinn says he was a warrior from 5 or 6 years old, right? So that really changes him and Einar's relationship forever, I think, because Einar hates war, right? I mean, most importantly, because soldiers, warriors, destroyed his family. They destroyed his village when he was young, and then destroyed it again when he was older, which then caused the death of his mom and his sister, and then him to be a slave, right? So he hates anything even resembling that stuff. So for that, to learn that he was a warrior, to learn that he's done that since such a young age, and to learn that he's killed so many people, he's lost count. He has no idea how many. That really strikes a nerve with Einar. And we see more of that because we see Einar was choking Thorfinn, I guess. It was a very strange scene because he was like choking him, and I'm like, okay, so this part isn't confusing to me. Like, I understand it, right? He hears that from Thorfinn. He's to take out his frustration, his anger, right? He wants to punish somebody. And anyone with the faintest connection to the tragedies of his life is gonna get it. But then, like, because, like, I was expecting him to start choking him, and then Thorfinn was gonna wake up and be like, what is happening? Maybe fight back a little bit. Einar's pretty big, but Thorfinn can fight. Like, Einar can't. Einar doesn't know the first thing about combat, really. So I was expecting that time, but it didn't. And, like, he was choking him, and, like, it didn't really feel like Thorfinn even like recognized that he was being choked out. So, like, I don't know if Einar is just weak or if Thorfinn is just, such a gangster that he was like, I don't even feel it. Because, like, he was making some choking sounds, but again, it's like, I feel like it doesn't take that much to choke someone out, especially if they're not fighting back. Like, you were choking this man for like 90 seconds. Like, you good, or like what's going on here? It was very strange. And then Thorfinn woke up screaming again, right from the same nightmare. We see more of his nightmare this time with him being a kid and just slashing other people. And then he slashes someone, and instead of a soldier, it turns out it is a older woman, just like a civilian, right? And so that really gets him, right? So we've already seen it, like, in firsthand with season 1, but we're seeing it more and more, like him really being traumatized by this stuff, like some true PTSD. And then, Einar asks him, do you want to die? Right? Do you want to die? And that's not really him offering to kill him, but it is more so because, Thorfinn says a lot of things that just, like, his life isn't worth it. Not necessarily that he's a bad person. I don't really think that's the route he's going, where it's like, I'm an awful person, I should be dead. It's more so like, he talked about it last episode, where why do we live? Nothing good ever happens from living, especially for me. And so, he's just kind of talking like, oh, I'd rather be dead. The longer I live, the more tragedy surrounds me, the more sadness, all that stuff. And then they kind of go to bed, right? You kind of like brush it off, a little bit of making light of it, like, don't be so arrogant. You're not the one who killed my family. I don't have a grudge against you, whatever. And so, maybe a little understanding there. Again, I just really want to know what exactly happened between season 1 and 2. You know, that little time jump that we have. I just really want to know. And then we have a little ending here. There's a person who like turns towards the camera. We see her face, or his face, her face. I don't know if it was a guy or a girl. It's like a sting or something there. I don't know who that person is. I don't know if I'm supposed to know who that person is. I mean, it was a moment, so I'm sure we'll see them next episode. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so again, still an incredible show. I'm sure we'll see more of that person next episode. Maybe we'll see more of Thorfinn and Einar talking next episode. Maybe we'll see more Snake next episode. Yeah, because I mean, right now, it's tough to make predictions because there's no like clear path to an ending, right? It's just like, oh, they're just kind of slaves working on their slave work, right? So it's like, you know, again, it's not like other stories where it's like, oh, they're clearly planning to escape. Not really, you know. They haven't talked about it at least. So, yeah. Next we have the Misfit Demon King Academy, the Misfit of Demon King Academy, Season 2, Episode 4. Yeah, we got some trials and some more information about the Spirit King. So, they start off in there. They're all Anos, right? There's like a spell to make them all Anos. That way, the game can't be weighted towards one person or another, especially like against him, right? Lei and Misa approach the Hidden Wolf, and the Hidden Wolf is just like, yeah, you can pass. I'm not gonna give you a trial. Like, oh, okay. Easy enough, I guess. Ano swiftly passes the Hidden Wolf trial, because clearly, I guess, the Hidden Wolf, that's who he wanted to give a trial to, was Anos. So he does, and yeah, he just clearly sees the real figure, takes the real figure down, and the Hidden Wolf is like, congratulations, you have passed. And again, it's one of those things that seems so anticlimactic, but that's kind of what we've come to expect with this anime and this character, because it's like, he's so OP. Like the fights that he takes on that would take maybe a whole episode, take about 2 minutes, because he's just that OP. Fake Anos, who is the Spirit King, was gonna stab Lei, but Misa got in the way. So yeah, so they approached Spirit King, and yeah, he was gonna take out Lei because Lei has like 7 sources or whatever, and then Misa's like, no. And she gets stabbed, and it's like, well, that's not what I wanted to happen. So yeah, very, very sad stuff there. She's not dead though, because we do see it at the end. We do see a little bit of her at the end, right? But yeah, that's very sad. Anos destroyed that man at the end. I don't remember his name, but he just destroyed the one dude, and he was like, haha, this is end of the line, Anos. And Anos was like, yeah, okay. And the Spirit King, they said the Spirit King is probably Shin, just based on his like sword work. So it's like, okay, we're kind of narrowing down, because we kind of forget that was a mystery in the first season. Not really the main plot, but that was something in the back of Anos' mind, ever since that did get brought up to him, where it's like, there's someone out there that's claiming to be the Demon King, but I'm the Demon King, so that's a lie. Yeah, so now I feel like this season is definitely more focusing on that, and I think that's probably where the rest of the season will go, is kind of Spirit King focused. Yeah. And then, yeah, just like I said earlier, Spirit King took Misa. Most likely didn't kill her, because he wouldn't gain anything from killing her. Easier to use her as a hostage, and, to get Anos to come out and face him, which I don't think Anos is scared, but, that's just classic villain tactics, right? Then there's this new sort of thing that's being brought up. Not really new, because I feel like that's kind of, some like the separation at the at the academy, but there's this reinforcement of the whole pure blood versus mixed blood with the whole demon blood stuff. So I'm sure that'll play more of a part as well. And then a crazy reveal at the end: the Spirit King is really the Spirit Queen. Yeah, it's a female. Crazy stuff. Who would have thought? So again, yeah, that's not really like like a reveal, like, oh my god. It's like, okay, that doesn't really tell me anything about her character, but cool, man, cool. I guess that'll maybe play a part in something or not. But yeah, again, cool episode. Again, I like the whole trial stuff, and then how Anos actually gets the trial, but then just kind of goes past everything. That's his character. But more importantly, I'm very interested in this whole Spirit King stuff, like who they actually are, what their purpose is, what they're trying to do, why their facade as Anos basically, all that stuff. So yeah, that I more so like the second half of the episode and where it's ramping up to. That's kind of the meat of it, right? Because just kind of Anos going through day to day, doing random stuff is cool to watch. But I want like more of like a root to this plot, and I think the Spirit King is that. Next, Don't Toil Me, Miss Nagatoro, season 2, episode 5, best show ever made. Yeah. So, again, this is one of those shows that this is one of the ones of, it is a adaptation of a manga that I am still currently reading, so I know everything. So this is one of my like comfort shows where it's just like I know the story already. I know everything that happens. It's just cool seeing it animated. And even if it wasn't, like, the show itself is cool. It's a nice little, like, I guess rom-com technically, right? Definitely more calm than rom, but So yeah, they got caught holding hands by Nagatoro's friends. Again, that wasn't what's supposed to be happening. They just kind of, their hands just kind of met. But yeah, so that was funny. Nagatoro thinks that she gave Senpai her cold, which she feels really bad about. Again, just goes to show, another moment of like, oh no, she really cares about him. It's like, oh man. I mean, I guess anyone, that kind of sucks. You don't really want to give anyone your cold. But, more importantly with this, it's like, oh no, I gave you my cold and you were taking care of me, and now that caused you to be sick. Sad stuff. No, Nagatoro taking care of Senpai. Really nice stuff there. Again, she doesn't have to do that, but again, it just goes to show how much she does care about him, and how much, like, deep down it's like, oh no, but like I want you to be healthy and happy and stuff. Big moment. Nagatoro says her name in a very dreamlike state. Again, he's kind of between dream and reality. He doesn't really know which is which, and he just says, "Thank you, Hayase." And the pacing of this bit is very good because he says it, and then she just freezes. She very calmly kind of scoots her chair back, and she like sets the spoon down in the bowl. She turns to him, and then she freaks out. She's like, "What?" Right? Because again, she loves that he just called her by her first name, right? But very embarrassing because again, they're not together. That's also not like, I feel like she is sort of constantly trying to fight this like image that she has constructed of herself. So for her to like fall for Senpai, that's like, that doesn't really align with who she is, or like who she's been up until this point. Even when they were talking like an episode or two ago, where it's like, ooh, Nagatoro, it's not really like you to have like a type, where it's like kind of insinuating that she doesn't date, right? Like she doesn't really like guys like that, or just anyone, right? And then she tries to recover with like her real like Nagatoro-esque reaction to stuff, where she starts like teasing him and like, oh, what'd you say? But he's asleep, and then she kind of loses it, and then she talks about how she might kiss him, and she's like, oh, do you want that? Do you have any objections? Anything to that? Oh, I might do it. Don't tempt me. And then Senpai's mom comes home and she decides to leave. She catches Nagatoro walking out the door. She's like, oh, who are you? It's like, oh, no, I'm just, a friend taking care of whatever. Oh, do you want to ride home? Nah, it's cool. And then like the next day, the mom is like, hey, so who was that girl in your room? Was it your girlfriend? She's like, no, it wasn't nice like that. But, so, even something small as that, where like the mom sees Nagatoro, it's like, ooh, that's a moment, right? Again, not a lot happened there, but just the fact that them two met and spoke to each other, there's a little bit of feeling there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Again, this is one where another show where I feel like we all know where it's going eventually. Again, I am ahead. I already know everything that happens, but it's just one of those shows, right? Where we know that they like each other. Obviously, they're just sort of embarrassed about their feelings. They don't really, neither one really knows how to perfectly, display their feelings. And even after all this, they're still not 100% sure if the other one like wants to reciprocate, right? But yeah, good stuff. Again, this is one of the comfort shows for me, and it's just good. Them being put in situations like the whole thing where it's like, ooh, we're gonna flip the script. Now Nagatoro is gonna take care of Senpai. It's like, ooh. So yeah. Next, Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible, episode 4. Again, definitely one of my favorites. I would say probably if I did come up with the top 3 for this season for me personally, I would say Kubo. What was the other one I was saying? That was very clearly. Oh yeah, Kubo, Vinland Saga, Buddy Daddies. I'd say that's definitely my 3 of just like good stuff. So this is definitely the most kind of slice of life anime that I'm watching, because it is just like every episode is just like, what wacky situations will Kubo put Shiraishi in this time? So right now we have Kubo catching Shiraishi and Seita transforming. They're doing like little like Power Ranger type stuff. And Kubo's just like very, very cheeky, just kind of like with the phone, like, do it again. And Seita's like, yeah, let's do it again. And Shiraishi's like, how about let's not? So that was funny. Shiraishi is wearing mismatched socks. That's like a very thing he's very conscious about, because he knows Kubo is gonna tease him for it. But then on the flip, we have her wearing tights. So it's like a big thing, right? Like she, wearing tights today because her socks weren't dry or something. And now she teases him for that. Like, he was so concerned about her teasing him for the socks that she took it up a notch and teased him about something she was wearing. She's like, "Oh, were you watching? Were you staring at them all day?" And she's like, "No, no. Why would I do that?" Shirashi is her guardian angel at the convenience store, right? It's funny because like no one sees him, so like he can just like give out advice. It's kind of like in like spy movies where the agent in the field has like an earpiece, and then there's like a dude in like a van parked in the street, like talking to him like, "Oh, do this. Oh, look out. Oh, make sure you." It's kind of how it is there. Let's see, and then they both got stuff from the convenience store. Kubo was going to offer some of the drink, but Shiraishi was like, "I'm not playing your game. Okay, you're not gonna have me drink it. It's gonna be like an indirect kiss. We're not doing that, all right?" So he was like, "Nah, I'm good. I got my meat bun." And then she's like, "You have not escaped my trap. You think you've escaped? Nah, I'm going to just ask for a bite of your meat bun, and I'm just gonna take a bite of it." So she did, and so that that kind of flustered him, right? And then the sad part, probably the worst thing that ever happened in the show, in the 4 episodes we've seen so far, someone like bumps into him because again he's invisible, and he drops his meat bun, and then we have a nice like framing thing where it just like does the whole like black and white thing. It's like a slow zoom out. It's just like, oh no, my meat bun. I didn't even get a bite of it. And then we have Valentine's Day. Is it Valentine's Day? Right? Yeah. Oh yeah, because they already did Christmas and stuff, right? So we have Valentine's Day, and Kubo makes him chocolate, and then we get the backstory of Akina. Of Akina, the older sister, who's like kind of nervous about Kubo wanting to bake on her own because she's not good at cooking or baking. Like every time she's tried, it's been like, "Ooh, that's not good." And like in the past, she's like, well, whenever she's given out candy before, she's just bought like assorted candy from the store and put them in bags and called it a day. Now she's gonna cook. Oh no. And then you realize that she has very good reason, right? You think, oh, maybe she's over exaggerating or whatever, But it's like, nope, she cooks, and it's so bad that the show blurred the food. And then they take a, because then it's like, okay, well, it might look bad, but if it tastes good, that's really all that matters, right? Like if it tastes good, whatever. Because at the end of the day, obviously like top chefs, you can try to make their food look good, but who cares if food looks good? If you taste it and it's incredible, it's like, I don't care what this looks like. What they taste it, and then Akina is like, please don't give this to anybody. It's just so funny because it's like, I am begging you, do not hand this out to somebody, especially someone that you care of, or that you care about. Please don't. And then she gets a little cheeky and she's like, I'm gonna make some candy too. I'm gonna make cookies. And Kubo's like, that's what I'm making. She's like, oh really? I didn't notice. I didn't know. The very like older sister thing, because clearly Kubo doesn't want to ask her for help. She wants to do it on her own. So then Akina's just like, oh, I'm just gonna bake cookies, and if you want to watch, follow along, and I'm not gonna stop you, right? And so they cook. It's great. Kubos don't really look incredible. They look a little misshapen, but for the most part, they taste good. They're good. And then a great moment there where Kubo eventually like wants to thank Akina, and Akina's like, oh, I didn't do anything. And then Kubo turns around and she's like, no, you don't understand. And then Akina just has the smuggest face. The smuggest face you've ever seen. And then Kubo's like, I hate this. I hate this relationship we have. And then we have a nice outro where Shirashi, tastes the cookie finally, and he's like, oh, this is good. It's like, hell yeah, So yeah, again, Kubo, love the show again. I just love every episode, not knowing what crazy situations they're going to be put in, their relationship. It's just pure and wholesome, and I love it. Next, we got Trigun Stampede, episode 5. Yeah, so not really a whole lot of stuff here, I feel like. I don't really think a lot of, like, story stuff, to me, I don't know why, this just felt like a bottle episode, which I'm not mad at. I'm not saying bottle episodes are inherently bad, but that's just me kind of reasoning why I don't have a lot written for this one. So there's an ambush at this windmill town. They make a big deal of the windmill. There's an ambush there by this dude, this like really buff dude. Kind of reminded me of Bane from Batman comics, right? DC comics. He's just like a really big dude, cracked out of his mind. And then we have some flashbacks where Vash promised to save this kid named Rollo because he was like sick or something. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get you medicine, don't worry, I got you. Never happened. He was out of time. By the time he got back with any sort of medicine, Rollo was gone, presumably dead, I guess. And that's like a again, I don't want to just breeze past that backstory, but it's not really something I super care about. But it was nice again, adding more to Vash's character about how like he's not a bad person, like he really does want to try and help everyone he possibly can, which is good. Again, it builds to his character. And then we learned that Rollo was experimented on by the Millions Knives crew, I guess, and he was turned into this buff Bane dude that we see before us, right? So terrible fate, right? Like in all honesty, probably should have just died. Like that's probably what Rollo wishes, is that he would just kill me. I don't want this. So now, it's crazy because now they're fighting. They're fighting each other. It's like, it came full circle in a very bad way. And then the Undertaker guy, I don't remember his name. I didn't have it written down, so I'm just gonna say the Undertaker guy with like the cross gun, shot Rollo, right? Because one, he didn't really know that it was Rollo. He didn't know like their connection or anything. And two, it seemed like Rollo was gonna kill Vash. And especially from the outside looking in, it was like, oh, he's in trouble, I'm going to save him. So he shot him in the face, Rollo's dead, all that stuff. So, again, not a whole lot happened in the episode, but, I think the point of the episode was to add more to Vash's backstory, add more to what kind of character he is, and then also just build upon the sadness that's kind of followed him, where it's like he always tries to do the right thing, but it seems like people still get hurt around him. Like, at the end of the day, I think he always comes up good. But even with the other town, right, where it's like we tried to save that town and then Millions of Knives came and like destroyed it, took the plants. It's like, damn, like I'm just trying to do the right thing, you know. Yeah, so that's basically it. Still a good show. Still loving it. Good stuff there. Just not anything like super remarkable to comment on. Next, we have KAINA and the Great Snow Sea, episode 4. This one's kind of similar to me as TRIGUN, where it's like stuff happened, but I feel like it was more it's like setup than meat, right? It was more of an appetizer and not the main course. So we do have a very beautiful shot where they're under the snow sea and they're kind of almost like floating. We see a bunch of like underwater wildlife. Very beautiful, right? I just love that because the snow sea is kind of known as this thing that's enveloping everything and it's destroying and it's, causing them to have not a lot of space to live, to build towns and stuff. But then you look under and it's like, it's so beautiful. Like nature, man. So that's what nature does to you. Then we have the Valgians. I think I spelled that wrong. Valgians took Riria, right? And then the Atlans, I think they're called. Atlians, saved KAINA, right? So unfortunately, Riria is taken. She's trapped, right? They have her like in like a prison cell or something. Which makes sense, right? She is the princess. She is a very, very valuable bargaining chip. But they were able to save KAINA, and even Riria was like, "Save KAINA, get him back, blah blah." Get him to the king or whatever, right? So, again, the aliens were kind of cold towards KAINA, but I feel like it makes sense because they don't really have anything against KAINA, but they are sad, right? Because Riria is like their whole thing. It's like, damn. We got Riria, in their mind they're like, man, if we could have saved Riria instead of you, awesome. But at the end of the day, Riria wouldn't be back here, like, not up there in the canopy if it wasn't for me. So it's like, they're not really mad at KAINA, I don't think. They're more just mad at the situation, I guess. And they don't really understand KAINA. Even then when they meet the king and she, like, gives them a present of bugs, they're just like, ugh, gross. But it's like, again, I really hope that they're able to come to some sort of understanding. We do have a little bit here too, where like the one girl I think is helping KAINA escape. I don't know if I read that right, but they're trying to help KAINA escape. Like, I think like leave and like maybe go to save Riria himself. Maybe I think that's crazy, but because I was more so hoping for like KAINA and the king to like come to an understanding and like, hey, here's life at the canopy. Here's what's going on. Here's our journey. Here's what we're doing. All that stuff. But maybe we won't get that. I don't know. So again, I feel like this episode's more like build up, more like, okay, this happened, that happened. How does this affect next episode? And I think that's really what it is, where it's like, okay, we're gonna see more Riria. I think, I still think we'll see more of the king in them because I want to see, I want to see more of their like thought process behind this whole thing. And their plans, because we're kind of in the middle of a war. It seems like, at least one that's brewing. And KAINA's here now. Like KAINA's not coming back. So yeah. Next we have SPECTRE season 2 episode 4. I have almost nothing to say about this episode. Don't think it was a bad episode. Just a lot of talking, and like, listen, I'm a fan of story, but like the whole episode, I'll say I don't really like this episode. I don't really like it a whole lot. It does not damper the whole show for me, but I was just like, the whole episode was just Kotoko talking and being like, just breaking everything down basically. Like, so many minutes were spent to come to the conclusion of, oh, Izuka tried to frame Muroi for his ex's murder, right? And it's just like the whole episode is that just like, oh, she did it because of this and that, and because she liked him, and she, Mura used to rely on her, but now he's leaving, and I want him, and oh, the ex, I'm gonna kill her, and then I'm gonna get back at him for to frame him, and like we spent 20 minutes just getting to there where it's like, yep, Isekai framed him, attempted to anyway, and also we can't really do anything now. We're just gonna let the evidence play out, and now. Muroi and Yukiana, I think is the yokai's name. They're flying away. And oh, you know who else is flying away? Kodako and Kuro. Kuro was there the whole time. Didn't show himself because it would have scared her. Scared the yokai away. And now they're flying away. Giving a little bit of exposition of what they're doing. Really nothing, that is. And that's the episode. Again, there's more nuance to it. I could have written down more of the points and everything, but I don't think it was that important. I think it was just like, because like for me, I don't know, I kind of liked more of the investigating of season 1 and more of the kind of like on-site that season 1 had. And this one was like, okay, it's kind of a neat story, a neat case, but then it ends with Kodako just being like, spending a whole episode just explaining what happened. It's like, oh, we didn't yeah, you're smart, you're got us a wisdom or whatever, like it makes sense that you can kind of think this stuff out, but I don't know, I like the kind of Scooby-Doo-ness of the first season where it was like, oh, we're gonna go there and we're gonna look up records and we're gonna, you know what I mean, like actually trying to solve something rather than just like, and here is the answer. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. So yeah, so again, didn't really love the episode. I'm hoping it gets better. I'm hoping we get a little more hands-on with the future, yokai spirit cases. But we'll see. And we got Tokyo Revengers. Ended off with Tokyo Revengers Season 2, Episode 4. Like I said, we are definitely getting in the thick of it now. We kind of understand kind of the overarching order of events that'll probably take place. We now know why it's the whole like Christmas battle or whatever, because it's season 2, but it's like Christmas Showdown. Which is funny because when I first saw the title, I was like, oh, this is like a movie, because like, I don't know, you like naming a season, usually seasons in anime don't get names. For the most part, we just say season 2, and then some of them get, Demon Slayer will get, oh, this is the train arc, oh, this is the city district arc or whatever, but that's very rare. Usually it's just season 2. You know what I mean? But yeah, anyway, so we have Hakai joined the Black Dragon. The Black Dragon released Yuzuha. That was the trade, right? Like he doesn't really want to join Black Dragon, but and then there's a whole thing where it's like, Hakai is not joining the Black Dragon because he's scared of you. He's joining the Black Dragon to save Yuzuha. That's kind of the angle that they were trying to, kind of mess with Taiju. We get a little more Taiju's backstory, which is awful. He's pretty much always been like this, roughing up his siblings, just being in charge all the time. And, they are definitely afraid of him because he is bigger and stronger and more just like assertive than they are. So again, man, I really can't wait to see Taiju die. I hate this man. And Hakai vows to kill Taiju. He's gonna kill himself. So yeah, that's Hakai's character. Then we see that, I spelled this wrong. Kuzuha? Why did I write Kuzuha and then it's Yuzuha? Is her name Kuzuha or Yuzuha? The sister. There's some inkling that maybe she might know something, because they were talking and it was like, man, this deal was way too easy to make. Like, Taiju agreed to this way too quickly. Like, does she know something? Is she in on it or something, right? So there's a little bit of a mystery there too. Again, I really like Tokyo Revengers for that reason, where it isn't just, it's not as straightforward as Takemichi going back in time and trying to, reach a goal, right? Like there is mystery to it. Like there is investigating, there is asking around, there is like infiltration and whatever that has to be done. So it's cool. Hanma and Kiseki want to work with Takemichi and Mitsuya. Yeah, so we are very wary of them because we know some stuff that happens in the future. We also know some stuff that they've already done. So we're like, why would we work with you? You're not exactly, we don't think our views really align with what we want, Toman to be, or like how we want to get there. But, they make a good point where it's like, hey, we're trying to look out for our brothers. We're looking out for all of Toman. That has always been our, purpose, basically. That's everything we do. That's why we do it. So we want to work together. We're going to do this. And so basically, they're saying that they have someone who's like a double agent in Black Dragon, I think, something like that. They talk about how Mikey is weak right now, and so they need something like this to reinforce Toman ourselves. Like, we're kind of, that's kind of why they want to take this into their own hands. Because they're like, we don't think Toman, we don't think Mikey is going to approve something like this. We're just going to do it. And again, we do kind of see that, right? Because that's kind of the backstory that, that Takemichi is given. Kind of how this all plays out is that Mikey does kind of lose his way a little bit. He does eventually, I think, join the Black Dragon, right? Something like that. And so it's like, we know where he's at, which is so tough because it's like, Mikey was so cool in the first season, and now it just feels like he's waning, right? He's kind of losing what he originally wanted Toman to be when he created it. Let's see. And so basically their goal is to stop Hakai from killing Taiju. They need to kill Taiju. Because I guess like if Hakai does it, it's not going to work out, it's not going to send the right message. And then also again with like Takemichi with the future knowledge, that is what happens. Like the future that he doesn't want as it stands is one where Hakai kills Taiju and like Hakai becomes the leader of the Black Dragon, and then bad stuff happens from there. So that's the goal. Stop Hakai from killing Taiju, kill Taiju themselves, and there's going to be a huge Christmas showdown. They said the name of the thing in the thing. It'll be a Christmas showdown. So yeah, can't wait to see that, right? I wonder when that'll be, if that's like building up, if it's like, it's going to be like 10 episodes from now. Because this season, is this season 24? Because I think the first one was 24. Is this one going to be another 24? Because if so, it's not going to take, it's not going to take 20 episodes to build this. Maybe it will. Maybe this is like far out, and there's a lot of other little stuff that's going to be done before then. But, we'll see. We'll see. And yeah, that is it. That is the show for today. Again, a lot of good stuff. I think there are quite a few episodes this week that were more set up than actual stuff, which is fine, because that just means that maybe next episode or the episode after it's going to be crazy. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Good stuff. Let me know which episodes you're rocking with. Let me know which shows your favorite, because like I said, my top 3 this season, not counting the continuing stuff, so I'm not counting My Hero, Blue Lock, or Eminence and Shadow. So out of taking those away, my top 3 are definitely Kubo, Won't Be Invisible, Buddy Daddies, and Vinland Saga Season 2. So let me know what your guys' like top 3s are, especially since we're like 4 or 5 weeks in. I feel like that's like good like concrete evidence as to like what all the shows are and how you feel about them. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. Until next time, watch more anime.